Welcome to the trailblazing grind, the Sunshine States where we unwind. From the beaches bright to the city's might, Eric Marquette with the sparks to ignite.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of Economic Pulse by Biz Growth Collective. I'm Eric Marquette, and we've got an exciting topic lined up for you this time. We're diving into Florida's economic outlook for 2025. Now, why does this matter, you might be asking? Well, if you're a business owner, or even just keeping an eye on how things are shaping up in your community, understanding these trends can really help, bring clarity to what comes next. Here's the thing. Florida is in a pretty unique spot. The Florida Chamber of Commerce has painted an optimistic picture for the year ahead, describing steady growth and opportunities despite a few challenges. So, whether it's about the housing market, workforce dynamics, or even population trends, there are plenty of factors businesses need to keep in mind. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. In today's show, we're going to break all of this down, starting with a closer look at Florida's GDP growth. It's about how our local economy is stacking up against the national average. It's a good one, trust me. All right, let's kick off with Florida's GDP growth. It's shaping up to hold steady between 2.5% and 3.0% this year. That's actually going to outpace the national average. But here's what's interesting. This growth isn't just, coincidence or good luck. It's being driven by a few key sectors: technology, healthcare, and construction. These industries are really pulling their weight in making Florida a standout state economically. At the same time, there's something to keep in mind. Economists are saying this growth is more moderate compared to what we've seen in previous years, which makes sense when you think about the challenges, things like inflation, housing costs, and even changes in the global economy ticking in the background. But Florida's got an edge here, with its pro-business climate and strong migration inflow. That foundational strength is kind of hard to beat. Now, when it comes to Florida's workforce, there's a mixed bag of, let's call it, opportunities and hurdles. On the one hand, employment numbers are projected to grow. It's expected to hit around 10.4 million by 2028. But here's where it gets tricky. The unemployment rate might bump slightly, rising to 4.3% by 2026 before easing off a bit. And there's still this gap when it comes to workforce participation, especially compared to other states. But here's the real takeaway. Certain sectors are booming. Construction, healthcare, and tech are among the leaders. And yeah, it makes sense if you think about it. Florida's literally building its future in so many ways, from housing developments to cutting-edge innovations. Those industries are driving, solid job growth and stability for the state. So what does this all mean at the end of the day? Well, understanding these trends is huge for businesses planning their next steps. Whether you're expanding, hiring, or just trying to navigate the landscape, these numbers paint a picture of where the state is headed economically. Now, let's dig into the industries that are really driving Florida's economic growth in 2025. First up, technology. Cities like Miami and Tampa are emerging as, legitimate tech hubs. And it's not just hype. There's actually a lot happening on the ground here. Startups are flocking to these cities because of the favorable business climate, and established companies are expanding because they see the long-term potential. It's kind of exciting when you think about how this is shaping the whole state's economic profile. Then there's healthcare. This one really stands out, especially when you consider Florida's population growth. With more people moving here, especially retirees, the demand for healthcare services is soaring. Hospitals are expanding, clinics are popping up, and let's not forget about the advances in telehealth. It's all about scale and accessibility, and Florida seems to be leaning into that, in a big way. And of course, we have to talk about construction. This industry continues to, literally build the state's future. New homes, office spaces, schools. These projects aren't just about meeting demand. They're creating jobs and feeding into the local economies. But it's not just numbers. The focus on sustainable construction is starting to make waves here too. Developers are paying more attention to energy efficiency and green building practices, adding a layer of innovation to this traditional sector. So when we look at these three industries, technology, healthcare, and construction, it's clear they're playing a pivotal role. Each of them is driving growth, creating jobs, and, honestly, setting Florida apart on the national stage. And that growth comes with its own set of challenges, too, like... All right, let's shift gears and talk about some of the hurdles on the horizon for Florida's economy in 2025. Inflation is still making its presence felt, putting pressure on businesses across the board. Rising operational costs, whether it's for materials, labor, or just day-to-day expenses, are forcing companies to rethink how they manage their budgets. And, these cost pressures, they're not going away overnight. It's an issue many businesses are grappling with right now. Now, when it comes to real estate, availability is another big concern. Sure, there's a lot of construction happening, but is it enough? Commercial spaces in particular are struggling to keep up with demand in some areas, especially in growing cities like Tampa and Miami. For businesses looking to expand, finding the right location can feel, well, like a major sticking point. And with rising construction costs and permitting delays, things aren't exactly speeding up. And then there's the workforce issue. It's a challenge that keeps coming up in so many conversations. High-demand industries like construction, healthcare, and tech are all feeling the pinch when it comes to skilled labor shortages. Even as Florida's population continues to grow, businesses are finding it harder to fill positions with the right talent. Part of the problem is that younger workers, especially those in their 20s, are leaving the state, often citing housing costs and better opportunities elsewhere. That demographic shift is creating a real gap that's hard to ignore. So, while Florida's economic growth is solid in so many ways, these challenges, whether it's inflation, real estate constraints, or labor shortages, are creating headwinds that businesses will need to navigate carefully. So let's think about this for a second. How do businesses actually, position themselves to not just survive, but thrive in a fast-growing economy like Florida's? It's a big question. And honestly, there's no single answer. But one area you really can't ignore is technology infrastructure. Investing in the right tech tools and systems can make all the difference, whether it's streamlining operations, improving customer experiences, or even just staying competitive in your industry. And then there's workforce development. This one's absolutely key. As much as Florida is drawing people in, there's still a clear challenge with finding skilled talent. So for business owners, it's about thinking long-term, offering training programs, upskilling opportunities, and maybe even partnering with local schools or trade programs to build a stronger pipeline of talent. It's not easy, but it's the kind of investment that pays off over time, Now, let's talk partnerships. Local partnerships and community initiatives. This is one area where Florida really shines. Whether it's teaming up with other businesses for shared resources or getting involved in regional programs to boost visibility and trust, there's a lot of potential here. And honestly, Florida's community-driven mindset can be such an advantage, especially for small and mid-sized businesses. It's like, why go it alone when collaboration can open so many doors? And that brings us to something even bigger. All right, as we wrap things up, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered today. Florida's economic outlook for 2025 paints a pretty compelling picture. From steady GDP growth and booming sectors like technology, healthcare, and construction, to the challenges of rising costs and workforce dynamics. It's clear that while opportunities are abundant, success requires careful navigation. For businesses, the key takeaways are clear. Embrace technology, build strong community partnerships, and invest in workforce development. These are the building blocks not just for adapting, but for thriving in this dynamic landscape. And let's not forget the importance of staying informed. Keeping tabs on these trends can make all the difference when it comes to making smart, strategic decisions. Looking ahead, there's so much more to explore when it comes to driving success in Florida's business climate. In our next episode, we're going to dive into how small businesses across the state can leverage AI to optimize their operations. It's an exciting topic and honestly one that's becoming increasingly relevant for businesses of all sizes. And with that, we've reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining me on Economic Pulse by Biz Growth Collective, your go-to podcast for insights into Florida's evolving business landscape. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Head over to the website bizgrowthcollective.com. And for now, take care and keep making those smart moves. See you next time.